My background with Black Cat mostly comes from the anime, which I remember watching for the first time, and there was just this serious, morose tone behind it. The main character, Train Hartnett, was this assassin for this secret organization called Kronos. Designated number 13, he was one of the most skilled gunmen around, with a specialized black and gold revolver made out of this thing called orichalcum, and with the vision of a god. He was the best assassin around, with the only other skilled assassin in the organization, and the person who was at one point going to get Train's designation in Kronos, Creed Desneth. He went through life alone, morose, and somber. That was until he met a sweeper, a licensed bounty hunter, named Saya Minatsuki, a free spirit who didn't really know too much of her past beyond when she was about 10 years old, mostly because she grew up in a very abusive household. Saya was this free spirit with fairly impressive skills when it came to bounty hunting. Meeting through an act of fate, the assassin and the bounty hunter striked up a friendship of sorts. Now, you hear Train tell it wasn't really a romantic way of looking at each other. It was more like Train had fallen in love with her way of living. As he says, not bound by anyone or anything, a stray cat. And over time, Train's friendship with this girl, his bond with her, grew and developed over time, and it started to change his very personality. However, the organization that Train worked for couldn't really care less as long as he did his job. Creed felt that Train was losing his edge. He was no longer being seen as Creed's rival in Creed's mind. He felt that this girl was dulling the blade that was Train, and so he decided to kill Saya. I remember getting to that moment in the series and being so taken aback that a character would just be killed off that way. She had only been around for about 6 episodes in the series. Train was supposed to be assassinated by Creed, as he had himself decided to leave the organization. And of course, being the skilled assassin that he was, it's just like, hey, we don't care what you do on your off time, but leaving the organization is a big no-no. Creed had also gone rogue from the organization, wanting to originally branch out with Train, but that was very much not going to happen. And so Creed starts his own organization called the Apostles of the Stars. People with special abilities that allow them to do miraculous and wild attacks. A chosen people, as it were, with Creed as their leader, filled with people seeking freedom or just people looking to unleash the gifts that they've been given. It was at this point that the story actually began. I remember I got to episode 7. No, not 7. 7 was a bit of a buffer. I think it was 8 or 9. That Train's personality shifted in a completely different direction. He became oddly more lighthearted. He started traveling around with this character who seemed inconsequential at first, Sven Volfield, but now they were partners. This odd bioweapon girl who they were introduced to and had come into conflict over was now their young charge, and every once in a while they'd be involved with this thief girl named Rinslet Walker. I always felt it was so strange that the series took such a dramatic turn after that point, because it had been so serious up until then, almost as if Saya's very own character had completely overridden Train. And it was only through reading the manga that I came to understand why there was this strange juxtaposition. Honestly, it wasn't until almost over halfway through the original run of the manga that we even got the backstory of Saya. For some reason, the anime had decided to take the backstory and make it the forefront of the anime. And while that created a very interesting situation, I will admit that I was kind of drawn in by the starting tone of the series. It also kind of felt like I had been deceived a little bit. I always ended up with such mixed emotions towards the end because, honestly, Train's personality felt so different in the anime in comparison to the manga. Sven and Train felt like better friends in the manga. Rinslet felt like a more integral part of everything. And you could damn well say that Eve had two daddies when it came to Sven and Train. The anime kind of made Train's relationship with the crew of sweepers that he was with more of one out of convenience than actually being genuine friends in any way, shape, or form. Sven in the manga didn't care so much about Train's past or who he was. He cared about his friend. But here, it felt off. That isn't to say that I hated the anime. I just ended up kind of preferring the manga when I got around to it. Simply because the manga made Train feel less alone. Less like he was just a damaged person desperately trying to figure out where he was going with in life, rather than in the manga where it felt like Train did know where he wanted to be in life. He wanted to be with Sven, he wanted to be with Eve wanted to be with Rinslet from time to time if it should ever come up. I'm simply saying that the impact that Saya had on Train's life felt very different from one anime to the manga. The anime staff just seemed to have a different direction they wanted to take this series. And while it wasn't bad or terrible, not even in the slightest, it ended up making the story of what felt like someone who had learned the lessons of the past and lessons of life and it moved on. It turned it into the story of someone who was broken and desperately trying to find what he needed in order to start moving forward. The manga was the end of a journey, the completion of what felt like a lifelong story. But the anime felt like the beginning of a story, the beginning of someone's journey to find themselves and to move on with their life. And I'm curious to know, which version did you prefer? Were you more in tune with the anime, or did you align more with the manga? Do you see the differences that I feel exist between the two adaptations, or do you think I'm a little off base? I'm interested to hear your take on this really good series, so please let me know. And if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube BS, or don't. I ain't your daddy, but I still love you like one. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.